Dark Discoveries is a podcast that dives into the darker corners of history, mystery, and the downright bizarre. We discuss real events that may include graphic details, adult themes, and strong language. Not suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is strongly advised.
We're here to inform, entertain, and maybe make you laugh nervous in public, but never to glorify the criminals or make light of their victims. Our research is thorough, but hey, we're not perfect.
We don't claim to be historians, so if we get something slightly off, blame Jimbo. All opinions are our own, and sometimes even those are questionable.
All right, guys, welcome back to Dark Discoveries. I'm your host, Jimbo, and today I'm joined by the notorious...
Notorious.
B.I.G.?
Wow, is she making fun of your weight already?
No! Oh, my God.
I was trying to come up with fun and Dustin.
And the glamorous.
Lost my train of thought.
Dustin. I'm Jackie. Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm glad we got those laughs out of the way because the story I'm bringing tonight isn't very funny. So my story this week is one of the most shocking and heartbreaking crimes in modern American history, the Cheshire Murders. This case, which took place in 2007 in the quiet town of Cheshire, Connecticut, not only devastated an entire family, but also shook the nation with its brutality. It's a story of two parolees, a violent home invasion, and a tragic outcome that left only one survivor. Let me go ahead and set the scene for you. So, Cheshire, Connecticut, it's a small, affluent town with a reputation for safety and community closeness. You know, kind of like Lebanon here. You know a lot of people in this little area. On July 23rd, 2007, however, that sense of security was shattered forever when the Pettit family home became the site of a horrific crime. Dr. William Pettit lived there with his wife, Jennifer Hawk Pettit, and their two daughters, 17-year-old Haley and 11-year-old Michaela. By all accounts, they were a close-knit, loving family. On the evening of Sunday, July 22nd, 2007, 48-year-old Hawk Pettit and her daughter Michaela went to a local Stop and Shop grocery store in Cheshire, Connecticut. They picked up food for a family dinner, which Michaela planned to prepare for them. Little did they know they were being watched and followed home. The perpetrators, Stephen Hayes, who ends up being Linda Miley, but this is before he transitioned, if you will, and Joshua Andrew Komisarjevsky. Now, that's a mouthful of a last name right there.
Yeah,
right?
I'm not going to say that again.
But during their trip to the grocery store, Komisarjevsky noticed and took interest in them, proceeding to follow them home, noting all the possible entry points to the house and the exit points. In other words, the house looked like a great place for their next burglary. Shortly afterwards, Hayes sends a text message to Komisarjevsky that read, quote, "I'm chopping at the bit to get started. Need a margarita soon." Hayes then texted, "We still on?"
I can drink for that. I can drink to that. I can go for a margarita right now.
Komisarjevsky replied, "Yes." Hayes' next text asked, "Soon?" To which Komisarjevsky replied, "I'm putting that kid to bed. Hold your horses." So I don't know if this is his kid or if he's saying, "Hey, this kid to bed," meaning I found a place, let me get it going, then I'll get back with you. And then Hayes replies, "Dude, the horses want to get loose, LOL." So I don't know what all that meant.
I don't know about horses.
Right. So they had a plan, and the very next day in the early hours, they would put their plan into action.
I'm a single horse kind of guy. Just saying.
Beer for your horses?
No, horse, not horses. I don't know where they're going, but it sounds perverted. And if there's two horses involved, deal me out.
You're thinking of donkey shows.
No, is that what it is?
Poor Dustin.
It can maybe take one donkey, but not two donkeys.
Donkey punch in the face.
I could go for some donkey basketball, though. I've heard that's fantastic.
fun.
My dad was doing the donkey basketball, and they gave
Your
him
dad was in a donkey basketball league?
yes, and they gave him the meanest one, and always try to buck him off and everything. All right. In the early hours of July 23rd, 2007, Lee and Commercer Jeske had planned to rob the Pettit house under the cover of darkness, leaving the family bound but otherwise unharmed. Both attributed the grisly outcome to a change of plan. Upon their arrival in the early hours of July 23rd, they found William asleep on a couch in the sunroom. Commercer Jeske entered the basement through an unlocked door and took a baseball bat he found leaning on the basement stairs. Commercer Jeske then entered the sunroom and used the bat to strike Williams 4 or 5 times. Commercer Jeske and Hayes bound William's wrists and ankles with plastic zip ties and ropes. William remembered one perpetrator telling the other, quote, "If he moves, put 2 bullets in him." Then the men proceeded to the rest of the house where they bound the wife and the 2 children in their respective rooms. Now, right here, I'm going to put a disclaimer because what I'm about to talk about gets very dark very fast. So if you struggle with this, you might want to fast forward this. So Hayes and Commercer Jeske tied them by their wrist and ankles to their bedpost and placed pillowcases over their heads. After restraining the victims, Commercer Jeske and Hayes ransacked the house for cash. They took the dad down to the basement where he was tied to a support pole. Hayes and Commercer Jeske continued ransacking the house for money, but were not satisfied with what they found. They then found a check register with $40,000 balance. They decided that they were going to steal 15.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and, do something that has a paper trail.
Right. Well, no, they just found the receipt. They know that they can say there's
Yeah.
40,000 here.
Yeah, there's 40,000 in his
bank.
bank account, so I'm going to take a check and go cash it.
No, they only decided to steal $15,000. So hang on.
But there's still a paper trail. That's the whole thing.
So surveillance from a gas station shows Lee purchasing $10 worth of gasoline in 2 cans that were taken from the Pettit home. So now they've got them on camera too, right? After returning to the house, Hayes took Hawk Pettit to the bank. The prosecution later claims that this was evidence of premeditated murder. Hayes forced Hawk Pettit to withdraw $15,000 from her line of credit when the bank opened. Hawk Pettit informed the bank teller that 2 men were holding her family hostage in their home and threatening to kill them all. So here, this lady is a hero in my book. She's trying
Yeah,
to
I'm
get
going to
help.
take you to the bank so you can withdraw this money for me.
Right.
But I'm going to stay in the car while you go inside.
No, I bet they were in there with her. They're not just going to.
Don't do nothing crazy. How did you tell them without him reacting?
So guess what? Bank surveillance cameras captured the transaction. The bank manager calls 911 and reports the situation to police while Hawk Pettit was still with the teller, okay? The manager reported to the 911 dispatcher in real time as Hawk Pettit left the bank. The manager told the dispatcher that Hawk Pettit had indicated that the home invaders were, quote, being nice, and that she believed they only wanted money. The Cheshire police responded to the bank's report by assessing the situation and setting up a vehicle perimeter without revealing their presence. So they've got these guys surrounded. While the police were outside the house, so they're outside of the house, Hayes and Commercer Jeske aggravated the nature of their crimes.
What an idiot.
Yes. So Commercer Jeske proceeded to sexually assault and rape the 11-year-old Michaela, which he later confessed to. Evidence that Commercer Jeske raped Michaela came from her autopsy, during which state medical examiner Dr. Wayne Carver found his semen in her body. Commercer Jeske photographed the assault and rape on his cell phone. In his interrogation, he claimed that he believed Michaela was 14 or 16. Something like that makes it any better, right?
Still a child.
I'm just hoping that he meets his fate very, very soon.
Oh, you think? You'd be
He better.
surprised. Here we go.
I hope that he goes to prison and gets raped himself multiple times.
So forensic testing results showed that there was bleach on Michaela's clothes, indicating that Komar Sarjewski may have tried to eliminate DNA evidence from the assault. According to Hayes' confession, Komar Sarjewski provoked Hayes into raping Hawk Pettit. The part that makes this even more horrible than it already is was the fact that Williams, who was tied in the basement, could hear the assault on his wife.
This is why you keep a gun by your bed or wherever you're at or on your side. So when these psychos come, you just put a bullet in them and call it done.
So he yelled up and heard one of the invaders say, quote, "Don't worry, it's all going to be over in a couple of minutes."
Oh.
Williams then managed to escape. He later said, quote, "I thought it's now or never because in my mind at that moment, I thought they were going to shoot all of us," end quote. In confessing, Hayes said that while raping Hawk Pettit on the living room floor, Komar Sarjewski entered and announced that Williams had escaped. Hayes then strangled Hawk Pettit. Hayes and Komar Sarjewski doused her lifeless body in parts of the house, including the daughters' bedrooms and daughters themselves, with gasoline. Investigators would later find the accelerant on the Pettit sisters' beds and on the clothing they were wearing. Hayes and Komar Sarjewski started a fire and fled the scene. Haley and Michaela both died of smoke inhalation. Haley managed to escape her restraints and run out of her bedroom and into the hallway, where she collapsed and died. Her body was found at the top of the staircase. 3rd and 4th degree burns on her feet indicated that she got very close to the fire around the time she died. The medical examiner who performed an autopsy on her could not determine if the burns occurred before or after her death. Michaela's body was found in her bedroom. She was still in her bed, her hands tied to it, and her lower body hanging off of it. Like with her older sister, Michaela's burns may have occurred while she was still alive. William had been able to free himself of his restraints, exit the house, and crawl to a neighbor's yard for help. The neighbor initially did not recognize him due to the severity of his injuries. Meanwhile, Hayes and Komar Sarjewski fled the scene in the Pettit family car. Idiots. They were immediately spotted by police surveillance, pursued, and arrested 1 block away, crashing into a police car. The home invasion had lasted 7 hours.
Jeez.
Both Hayes and Komar Sarjewski confessed to the murders. Detectives testified that Hayes smelled of gasoline throughout her interrogation. So you got to remember, Hayes ends up having that transition. He's now Lee, which we'll get to. Each assailant claimed that the other was the driving force and mastermind behind the home invasion. So here they are turning on each other, pointing blame.
Yeah, because criminals never do that.
Right. So Komar Sarjewski also blamed William for the murders. In Komar Sarjewski's diary, which was later entered into evidence, he called William a coward and claimed that he could have saved his family if he wanted to, which he's just saying that about the dad, which
the dad is in a terrible predicament. He can try and escape, or he can go upstairs and definitely be killed. Or, I mean, there's no good outcome for him, and the guilt that he lives with, I'm sure, is immeasurable anyways.
Well,
the last thing you want to do is victim blame.
Well, here's my thing. If you had a 911 call while you were at the bank and you have the house surrounded, why are you waiting?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Things just got worse.
Yeah.
Because the bad thing is you got to call it the bank. How far is the bank? How long are they going to react? So if you react to that early, they're going to drive by, see that you tried to free the people. You'd have to conduct a traffic stop before they ever got home. And then once you wait, now you have another victim in there with another perpetrator not knowing what they have.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then
You're damned if you do and damned if you don't.
I think part of that was probably they were just trying to see if they were just going to rob them and leave and then they could catch them. But they probably didn't know it escalated so quickly and they lost their lives.
Yeah.
So now we're going to talk about the trials. So Lee's trial, which was Hayes at that time. So it began on September 13th, 2010. The jury was composed of 7 women and 5 men. Lee's defense attorneys argued that Komar Sarjewski was the mastermind behind the home invasion and that he was responsible for escalating the violent nature of the crime at every critical point. Prosecutors argued that both perpetrators shared responsibility. Following the completion of the trial, the jury deliberated for about 5 hours and reached guilty verdicts on October 5th. The sentencing phase of the trial began on October 18th, my birthday, in 2010.
You're giving out too much personal information.
That's all right. They can send me presents. During which the jurors had to decide if Lee should be executed or imprisoned for life. Deliberations began on November 5th. The first day of deliberations ended with the jury split over whether to recommend life in prison or death. The second day of these deliberations began on November 6th. Defense attorney Thomas Ullman told the jury that a sentence of life in prison would be the harshest possible punishment for his client Hayes because she was so tormented by her crimes and would be isolated in prison. Wow. Well, life in
Should have thought about that before you did the bullshit that you did.
Life in prison without the possibility of release is the harshest penalty, Ullman said. Quote, it is a fate worse than death. If you want to end their misery, put her to death. If you want her to suffer and carry that burden forever, the guilt, the shame, and humiliation, sentence her to life without the possibility of release.
So I don't want to sound, disrespectful on this one at all. Not the intention at all. But was she in a men's prison or a women's prison?
Well, I think when it happened, she was a man. Since then, she had transitioned. So does that mean she's going to women's prison? I don't know.
Because, not to sound nasty, but, if you look like a woman and go into men's prison, you're going to be sought after for certain things. And if
you might be sought after anyway.
And if you go the other way, you may be sought after because you're lonely. But I just hope that.
And then if they find out what you did,
I hope
you're really going to be sought out.
I hope a guard slipped on what they did. And, some prison justice was.
Why? When they could probably watch it on their cable TV. They don't have to have a guard slip information,
it is
right?
2010, so that's a little bit probably early on. I think you're going to have TVs around that time, but I think they really limit what you can probably see. And
a lot more than they did today.
Yeah, right. and I know they're not going to let you watch anything probably news-wise. It's going to give you can't watch court TV because heaven forbid somebody shows up
on your trial. Hey, that's me.
Because that's a big thing is keeping what the crimes are a secret, so that way retaliation doesn't happen, but it does get out pretty fast.
Well, a lot of times the guards can tip off what happened. A lot of times it's by putting a pillowcase on the pillow or not on the pillow, giving them a certain color uniform to wear to begin with, or even a certain way of announcing them. When
I would say hand signals.
I'm just glad
that guy.
I'm just glad that some of that information does get leaked, so they do get a pay because sometimes you get off easy,
right?
And nothing you can do beating this person to death will bring back and take away what they did. But by God, they're going to think about, man, I screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So on November 8th, 2010, the jury returned with a recommendation that Hayes be executed.
Okay, I could agree with that. I hope they move him to Texas and they'll speed that process up.
Hang on, don't get excited because you'll find out. The jury recommended a death sentence on each of the 6 capital felony counts for which Hayes was convicted. In the sentencing phase, the jury had deliberated for about 17 hours over the course of 4 days before reaching a decision. Jurors later reported that they deliberated over a long period of time so that they could weigh all of the evidence properly, which they should do their due diligence, right?
Yeah, they should have did that before they, during the arrest and all that, before the initial trial. So I don't like where this is going because...
Oh, you're not going to like it at all.
Because you caught him basically red-handed. Like a block or two from the house that's on fire that you have them at the bank.
In their car.
In their car,
Right.
They went to the bank on camera.
And they got at the gas station. They got them on surveillance too. But hang on. Let me finish.
This was Connecticut, you said?
Yeah.
I will never step foot in the state of Connecticut.
We're only on the first trial too. Don't forget this too.
Oh,
right?
my.
So Hayes had attempted to negotiate a life sentence in a plea bargain, but prosecutors chose to take the case to trial so that she could get the death penalty. After the verdict, her defense attorney stated, Hayes smiled upon hearing the jury's recommendation of a death sentence. She then added, Hayes is thrilled. That's what she's wanted all along. During a press conference after the verdict, Dr. Pettit stated, we all know that God will be the final arbiter, and I think the defendant faces far more serious punishments from the Lord than she can ever face for mankind. He also spoke about his family, saying, Michaela was an 11-year-old little girl tortured and killed in her own bedroom. surrounded by stuffed animals. Haley had a great future. She was a strong and courageous person, and Jennifer helped so many kids. For the first time in state history, the Connecticut State Judicial Branch offered post-traumatic stress assistance to the jurors who served for 2 months on the triple murder trial because they had been required to look at the disturbing images and hear grisly testimony. On December 2nd, 2010, Hayes apologized for the pain and suffering she had caused the Pettit family and added that, quote, "Death for me will be a welcome relief, and I hope it will bring some peace and comfort to those who I have hurt so much." Judge John Blue formally imposed 6 death sentences, 1 for each of the capital charges. Blue then included kidnapping, burglary, and assault before finishing with, quote, "This is a terrible sentence, but is, in truth, a sentence you wrote for yourself in flames. May God have mercy on your soul." The judge also gave Hayes an official execution date of May 27th, 2011. Blue said that that date was a formality because if Hayes appealed her case, her execution could be delayed for decades. Her death sentence becomes a life sentence in August 2015 when the state abolished capital punishment. Hang on, let me get through the rest of them before you...
So if I was in that prison and I couldn't get out, ain't no way those bastards would leave alive. There wouldn't have been a second trial because I would have had some prison yard,
And I'm going to talk about a little bit about the Connecticut laws here in a minute, so you can see what changed and what's happening. So, but now let's move on to.
I get the federal government doesn't always regulate what the state does, but why not? Why can't certain laws be the same across the board?
Right.
When somebody does this horrific shit, if that was the cops, the prosecutors, the judge's kid, the warden's kid, that would have never made it that far. That's where this system is so freaking corrupt that you let people walk free or you give them a slap on the wrist or take them from prison and put them in a mental ward where they have it easy.
Rehabilitate them.
Yeah, you're trying to rehabilitate them to put them out there when they don't ever need to breathe another breath again. That's what's like. Let's get a conviction. Well, we got that. We got the publicity, but now let's show some compassion.
Here's my question.
Get that beep button ready. Is that beep button ready? Because I'm about to drop an F-bomb. So.
Now listen. So here's what I don't understand. If you have the images.
Here's my
tape,
F word for the episode. So disclaimer: you fucking caught them red-handed.
Hang on, but my question is, I think if you have
this case is pissing me off.
Well, would you let me get it out? I'm talking about like when you
and you're not even halfway through, and I'm already mad.
Well, we're going to get madder, but.
I don't know if my blood pressure can take it.
They want to talk about overcrowding in prisons.
Then execute them.
That's what I'm saying. Why do we have to wait so long when you have clear evidence? You have them on security camera. You
confess, cut, dry, execute them then. Don't pay the tax dollars. They took a life. Take an eye for an eye.
But Dustin, it's inhumane. We can't just...
Well, and unfortunately...
So raping an 11-year-old daughter is not inhumane.
Well...
I'm about to get F word number 2, so you better mute me for a minute.
I don't have this mute.
Yeah, muted on the.
Oh, maybe I do.
You can mute my mic at the bottom.
Oh, I could.
The bottom.
Why? When I could just do this?
Yeah, but you don't know I'm going to do it. I need to hit that button. But you can just mute my mic on the bottom of the. Okay. You can go on now.
Okay, now that he's muted, we can go on. But I'm going to undo it because you never know what's going to come out of his mouth. All right, Jackie, do you have something? Okay. Here we go. Now we're going to move on to the second trial, Komar Sarjevsky's trial, okay? Komar Sarjevsky's attorneys offered for him to plead guilty in exchange for a life sentence. But prosecutors took the case to trial in order to give him the death penalty. Hooray for the prosecutors, right? Komar Sarjevsky's trial began on September 19th, 2011. His attorneys blamed Hayes for the murders, arguing that she was the criminal mastermind while their client was a confused and easily led man who did not intend to kill anyone. Poor him. He was just misled. Komar Sarjevsky was found guilty on October 13, 2011. On December 9, 2011, the jury recommended the death penalty. During the hearing, Judge Blue said, quote, "This is a terrible sentence, but it's one you wrote for yourself with deeds of unimaginable horror and savagery." Komar Sarjevsky made a statement during the sentencing hearing. He spoke about the shame, disappointment, and hurt he had caused, saying, quote, "I will never find peace within. My life will be a continuation of the hurt I caused. The clock is now ticking, and I owe a debt I cannot repay. Though he acknowledged taking part of the crime, he insisted that he did not intend to kill anyone, saying, quote, millions have judged me guilty of capital offenses I did not commit. I did not intend for those women to die. They were never supposed to lose their lives.
You didn't intend.
I don't need 12 people to tell me what I'm guilty or not guilty of. None of them were there that morning. I know my responsibilities. I will bear them as I should. What I cannot do is claim responsibility for the actions of another.
So just what you've said, he's contradicting himself as he's going. I didn't do it, but then you didn't know that wasn't my intention. Well, because it went too far, that's not our fault. Line him up, put a family member that's still alive, the closest living family member to those people that died, put them with a gun on the firing squad. Hell, give them the live round. I don't care on that. Let them pull the trigger when they execute him because they may or may not be the one that shoot him.
We got him fired up already, don't we? He's fired up.
He's a little scary right now.
I know.
I don't know. As a parent, it's just,
I know.
this is just the system failing society.
Unfortunately, there's so many cases of the opposite happening that this is why we have to do the way we
Yeah. I mean, it's
where we have imprisoned people that have not had anything to do with these crimes.
and that's the bad part is they go for those convictions and innocent people get wrapped up so they can shut the case.
Yes, there are good and bad on both sides.
right.
And I get that. But when you have clear evidence,
That's the part that kills me.
That's different.
That should be treated a whole different way.
Right.
Completely.
You got to look over your shoulder walking your kid down the street because of people like this.
Yes.
Even in this town, your town, my town, you live in Indy 2.0, I think, because it's a little rough there. But it's just you gotta.
Well, I mean, I
It's a
live in a
case by
small
case.
town, and I had a guy just try and walk into my house.
Yeah.
I mean, it just, unfortunately, it doesn't matter where you are. There are people that are out there.
Remember when we were growing up? I mean, at least when I was growing up, I don't ever remember it being this bad. I think with social media and all the news outlets,
I think it
and
was always
everything
this
now,
bad, but I
happened.
think it's
You just
now
didn't know
we
about it.
have
Right, that's what I'm
more out there that, now
we were
we've got
sheltered.
We
more.
were
Cameras
gleefully ignorant.
Well,
we didn't know.
Cameras have exposed so much, and people can't get away with the things, but it doesn't stop them from doing them.
Right.
So that's, I think, it. And I think this has always been the way the world is. It's just now more visually aware.
There's all these cases, and you don't hear about it from the next town over because if you don't get their
They're
newspaper,
not connected. Yes.
Yeah, you don't get their
How
newspaper.
long
You don't
did it
have their
take us
news
to
channel.
realize serial killers are going across nations, not just down the street?
Yeah.
It's because we didn't connect until 20 years ago.
Yeah, it took till when in the 80s or the 90s for
Yes,
police
database.
departments to have a database to work together. Because heaven forbid 2 counties work together.
because they have
Absolutely.
jurisdiction over the other one because it happened in my county.
Yeah.
You know what? I wouldn't give a shit if the other one says, "Hey, we want to take this up." That's your tax dollars, then, not mine.
Right.
Just or split
Or better
it.
yet,
Something.
hey, this is what I found. What'd you find?
Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
Oh well,
It's a
you're,
pissing
you're
contest.
mad. You want to get mad?
Oh, I
God,
know where
just
this.
mute his mic.
The guy's gonna walk.
she's had enough of Dustin.
I'm ready.
I have a feeling at the end. Spoiler: somebody's walking at the end of this.
So Komar Sarjeski spoke about how the trial affected him, saying that he had become, quote, quite comfortable in the face of hatred and bigotry, and said that the jury who recommended the death penalty for him, quote, believed me so worthless, even my very existence is deemed intolerable, end quote. He also said that forgiveness was not his to have, and that he needed to forgive his worst enemy, himself. During his victim impact statement, Dr. Pettit, which was the girl's dad and the husband, described the crime as his personal Holocaust and said, quote, I have a difficult time sleeping and trusting anymore. I hope to continue to honor my family. I push forward in the hope that good will overcome evil, end quote.
How would you ever recover from that?
I don't know if you can.
You couldn't move. You couldn't do anything.
Well, not only is it horrific, but it was your home, your space.
Yeah, you can't live there anymore.
No.
I mean, you have to leave. You have to uproot your life because your safe space is now
and
not a safe space.
your family, your people, your loved ones. I mean, nowhere would feel like home again.
No, you could relocate anywhere in the world and it would never be, you could never live a normal life because that car door slams too loud. Somebody knocks over a trash can, fireworks, something on TV, anything. Like you're on edge.
Yeah, you never trust anyone again.
And how would you ever get in a relationship again, too?
That's
that
just
would
it.
be the hardest part, too, I think.
You know,
if you ever decided to.
You know, eventually things get a little bit easier. You don't forget it, but you find a way to cope with it. I just don't know how you would get through that dark tunnel to get to the other side.
Right. So Blue set July 20th, 2012 as Komarszewski's execution date. But as with Hayes, Komarszewski's death sentence was turned into a life sentence in August 2015. The Cheshire home invasion murders had a significant impact on Connecticut's laws regarding the death penalty and on the debate surrounding the topic. The case motivated proponents of Connecticut's death penalty and was cited as a reason that any repeal of the capital punishment in the state should not extend to those already on death row. On April 11, 2012, the Connecticut House of Representatives voted to repeal capital punishment for future cases, leaving past death sentences in place. The Connecticut sentence had already, had already voted for the bill, and on April 25th, Governor Dan Malloy signed the bill into law. In August 2015, the Connecticut Supreme Court declared all capital punishment inconsistent with the state's constitution, effectively commuting the killer's sentences to life imprisonment.
So let's spend a bunch of tax money to keep these bastards alive.
Yep. So
Pretty much.
But if you're going to change it, don't grandfather these people in. You know, it's
right. So we talked about the killers a lot, but I'm going to highlight the victims because they deserve to remember.
no, their stories what we need to be talking about,
So-
not these sick.
So the wife, Hawk Pettit, she was a nurse and a co-director of the health center at Cheshire Academy, a private boarding school in Cheshire. She met her husband at Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh in 1985 when she was a new oncology nurse, and he was a third-year medical student at the University of Pittsburgh. She and Dr. Pettit married in 1985. The Pettit's eldest daughter, Haley, had just graduated from Miss Porter School, where she played varsity cross country, basketball, and crew, and was a high honor roll student. While at Miss Porter's, she was elected to the senior leadership position of athletic association head. She also won a school award for, quote, exceptional community service. Haley was scheduled to attend Dartmouth College, where she wanted to study medicine. Haley had been an active fundraiser for multiple sclerosis research following her mother's diagnosis with that disease. She captained a walk MS team called Haley's Hope.
Aww.
The Pettit's youngest daughter, Michaela, attended the Chase Collegiate School before her death. After Haley left for college, Michaela planned on taking over Haley's Hope and renaming it Michaela's Miracle. Michaela often cooked for her family and had done so the evening before the murders. William, who was the sole survivor of the home invasion, was an endocrinologist in Plainville. He was also the medical director of the Joslin Diabetes Center at Connecticut's Central Hospital. He survived when he escaped via direct external exit from the basement despite his injuries. William has not returned to his medical practice since the murder, stating his desire to be active in the foundation set up to honor the memory of his family. He contemplated running for Congress as a Republican, but later decided against it. In the following election cycle, he successfully campaigned for the Connecticut General Assembly and served as a state representative. And this is the true story of the Cheshire Murders. So, Jackie, Dustin, you guys any thoughts or feelings on this case?
I think life is too easy.
You know, it's definitely not fair because you had a family that sounds like was going to do things that could make this world a better
Part
place.
of society and really
Yeah.
dedicated to
Changing the
people.
world.
Yeah.
You know, we can't get to certain advancements because of stupid crimes like these that take bright minds and bright people away that are good, honest, hardworking people. and we reward the criminals. And I wish he would have ran for, a little bit more public, not public office, but more congressional stuff to try to really go back and get these laws changed back.
Exactly.
Because, that's the thing now is he knew what his legacy was going to be from that point out. Like here, it's a tragedy, but I'm going to dedicate the rest of my life to honor those in my family that I lost. Like the financial gain of a medical practice, that stuff doesn't matter. This foundation, keeping their memory alive is what's important. And if he could have took it one step farther and found a way to help undo the wrongs that the system did, he's going to create a legacy that we would love to have. We all have a legacy with our family, but, to make a bigger impact across the world, the country is what we're all shooting for. And he has an opportunity and still is. So,
well, it's like the daughter that, she started this fundraiser called Haley's Hope because her mom was diagnosed with MS. And, it seems like she pretty much had her life planned out, what she was going to college, going to be in medicine, all that. But then to have the 11-year-old daughter, Michaela, going to take over that fundraiser, and she changes it to Michaela's Miracle. I mean, that just shows you the heart of this family, that they were, they were doing what they could to do. And maybe Haley was going into medicine to try to help cure her mom of MS.
Oh,
yeah, that's what it is. I mean, when it hits personal,
that just hit me right there. I didn't know, but
when that stuff hits home, that's when you start really trying to find a way to make a difference. And I have a friend who does, I can't remember what company she works for, but she works for a very big medical research company, and it's doing things with, in a nutshell, doing research to where what they're doing it's an individual plan I don't know if it injects you with a certain, whatever it is. I paid attention, but it's been a few weeks. Basically, it becomes individual cancer therapy, so your body can attack it and to kill it out. But there's so many different regulations. They're getting ready to do clinical trials, and it could save people's lives. And if I'm going down that path, and there's a good chance I'm not making it, do it. Like whatever I can do to help people is what I'm going to do. But the government, it regulates everything so much to where you can't get ahead. And, little things like this, that they're working on could be fantastic, but the way laws change and everything, it pulls away what you can do. And if you're in a position of power and you hear this, which I don't know how you would, think about the big picture. Think about what we can do as human beings to help each other, not to, just worry about yourself. And these kids were, putting their mother first and other people, because I'm sure her mother was in some type of support group because they were active in their community. They're going to have other people that are struggling with the same thing. And you're not just helping your mom. You may be better off than these other people, and it's helping these other people get, medical care and treatment and some better, way to live through this disease.
right. Yeah, it's just, I'll never understand how people complain about their rights while they're in prison. It's like the people that are, supporting that and all that, they forget what they did to get in there in the first place.
When you when you get, into prison, you lose those rights.
Right. I don't think you can vote anymore either, right?
I think there's some loopholes where it says you can and you can't, but I'm pretty sure you can't. But it's one of those, it's in prison, like you should have basic human rights, and that's it.
Right. But I mean, no, you shouldn't be eating better than me and you, or cable TV and all that we can't even afford. You know what I mean? So
cable TV is something in the past, but now streaming is becoming too expensive.
Smashers. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Public execution. There is nothing wrong with a good old hanging for everybody to watch. Like, it may toughen some of us up a little bit.
Let's face it, this generation hasn't really seen anything since, World War II, really? No, Vietnam. Yeah.
I know in Afghanistan, they talk about somebody did something and they're stoning people to death.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, you watch somebody steal from somebody or do something to a child, and they stone you to death, and you watch that, you're like, I either got to be a good damn criminal or I'm going to stop this shit.
Yeah.
Right.
And lasting impact.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And then, they say they rehabilitate people.
Does
it work?
Some of that, but a lot of that they gave up in the 60s and 70s because they went through a mass thing where they were trying to rehabilitate. And they were essentially just bringing people in, giving them therapy for like a year, and then setting them back out. And they were going back to the exact same thing.
That's what I was going to say. How many of these people? Well, he's been arrested 74 times, and we rehabilitated him, and then comes out and does
that's
the
why
same
it's
thing
the
again.
3 strikes you're out kind of policy nowadays. Yeah.
Well, that is, it's con college. You're going to learn to perfect a craft. You have nothing but time to think about what you did wrong, how to override what you're doing to get over on the system. That you've got time. That's all you've got.
Well, I mean, all we have to do is just look back to the 60s and the 70s, where they were trying to rehabilitate people with just positive thinking and attitude and color of the.
You know what would really help these people? And this is the first time I'm ever going to say this, and probably the only time. Give them a damn lobotomy. Like let's try that.
We tried that too.
Yeah.
Like we could keep doing that, and at least you scramble their eggs a little bit, and they don't hurt nobody no more.
Right. So I don't know how you guys feel, but I don't know if we should do any other stories tonight. I think we should just sit and reflect on this one, Dustin.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, we want to definitely think about the victims and
The causes that they were.
I mean, it's. I could go laugh and joke after this, but I'm a little worked up on it. So.
Right. We don't want you to be mad laughing at us. So, but I do believe Jackie does have our missing child for this week.
You thought so. I do.
Oh, never mind.
I just closed my tab. Okay, yes, I have it here. So this is Miss Bianca Elaine LeBron out of Connecticut in Bridgeport. Her age now would be 34 years old because she went missing November 7th of 2001. Bianca's photo is shown as age progression to 27 years old. She was last seen at school on November 7th of 2001. Bianca may have gotten into a dark-colored vehicle with tinted windows driven by an adult male. She has a birthmark on her forehead. We will put all of her information up. If you have any information on Bianca, please, you can turn this into the Missing and Exploited Children at 203-576-7671. Bianca's missing child case number is 923729. Let's give Bianca's family some answers and try and bring her home.
All right, Dustin, where can they find us on the social medias?
So you can find us on Facebook and in our Facebook group, Dark Discoveries Podcast, Instagram, which I don't really mess with, Dark Discoveries Podcast. And then we're most active on TikTok most of the time at Dark Discovery. So if you want to drop us a line, darkdiscoveriespod@gmail.com. And if you like what you heard, leave us a review and a like.
All right. Well, this has been Dark Discoveries, where the deeper you dive,
The darker it gets. If I was Tom